So how much? Oops, never mind, since we're starting, okay.
Okay, I will call the meeting to order, our regular scheduled meeting of Tuesday, October 17th. And roll call, please.
Director Spardonish,
Here.
Gardini,
Here.
Logan,
Here.
Pearson,
Here.
and Peterson.
Here. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would any board member like to change the order of business? If you only have one item, it's kind of hard to do. So moving right along, public comment. The members of the public may address the board on any item of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, but not on the agenda today. Do we have any comments from the public?
Just feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or comments on the county bid.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda: the minutes of October 3rd, the treasurer's report for August 2023, a budget amendment for the trees at Everest Park, and resolution number 19-2023, Toad Creek Sewer Line Acceptance and Budget Amendment. Anybody like to
So,
pull one of those?
yeah, I'd like to pull the budget amendment. I have a couple questions about the trees at Everett Park.
Okay.
And I just have a question on the Toad Creek sewer line acceptance. I don't know if we need to pull it or exactly where is that? So it's when you come down Los Tables and where does it turn into Gibson? Because this is,
Yeah, the line runs parallel to the creek from Los Tables to Gibson.
so is it on the west side or east side of the creek?
It's on the east side of the creek and it runs north.
And it runs north. Okay, that was the only question I had. Thank you.
Okay, so if I can get any comments from the public? No comments, okay. Hey, you're pretty easy.
I'll make a motion that the board approve consent agenda item A, the minutes of the October 3rd, 2023 board meeting, the treasurer's report for August, and resolution number 19-2023, the Toad Creek Sewer Line Acceptance and Budget Amendment.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Gardini,
Aye.
Spardonish,
Aye.
Pearson, and Peterson.
Yes. Okay, item C, the budget amendment.
Yeah.
I could pull up, this item's been reviewed by the Parks Recreation Refuse Committee on a couple of occasions, and I think we could pull up what we shared with them at the most recent meeting, and this visual might help.
Yeah, that's what I think I need, because I'd like to know how many trees we're talking about removing and how many trees are being replaced or planted in place of them.
It was, yes.
Oh, I think I got it separately in
It's up there in the agenda buried. Reed's Everest Park right there. Scroll down. Okay, so just real quick, this is some photographs of the existing trees at the park. So they run along the western boundary of the park. The issue really was, this was initiated because the trees they're a nuisance. They create a lot of debris and leaves. And the neighbor, when we were trying to work with him on some permissions on the improvement project, said, you know, he would really appreciate if we would trim or remove those trees because they're really a burden on his property. That yellow, what looks like a fence, is really the back of the mini storage, and the trees overhang the mini storage. Anyway, that's where this kind of started. Scrolling a little more right here. So this is just from the opposite side. This is from the far end, sort of softball field number 2, looking to the southwest.
So these trees are also going to be removed? All of
Let
these?
me get there's more details here that are right here. So a little bit further, I'm sorry, other way, right there. Okay, so that little drawing shows the areas of, so it shows the dotted line is the construction area for the Everest Park improvement plans. So on the windbreak or the tree line runs the whole property line really in three segments. The part closest to the parking lot, this area that's shown more in white, directly west of the first softball field. And then as you look to the right side of the map where those little funny looking elements are the future playground. The improvement plan for Everest Park calls for the removal of several of the trees in the two areas to the south and the north on that park. And I'm not sure if that's making sense, but near the
Where the
playground,
parking stalls are.
yeah, closer to the parking stalls and where the playground is, those trees were already called for removal and replacement in that project. So we didn't want to, all those plans have been done, or that those components of the plans are done and part of the project. So we didn't want to alter something that was already planned. So the trees on the ends were coming out. Let's scroll down one more. So this illustration shows what came before the committee most recently. The the trees that are surrounded in white borders were scheduled for removal already, with the one that's clear on the left side to be replanted with holly oaks. On the right side where the shaded out area is, there was no replanting, because that's where we have the playground facilities. We had brought forward a couple of different options, but ultimately what's before you tonight would be to remove the trees that are in the yellow bordered, both shaded and unshaded. All those ones in the center would be removed and replanted with holly oaks. There's not a specific diagram, a schematic of where the holly oaks would go, but the holly oak trees we would replant on the top of that bank.
So do these trees currently overhang over the property owner's fence line?
So the ones on the left-hand side do.
Okay, and then the holly oaks that are going to be planted, how big are those trees?
It's a slow growing, moderate sized oak, pretty small compared to the big oaks you see.
So how big will they be?
25 feet.
Yeah, I think about 30 feet.
Okay,
How big are they when you put them in?
Well, it depends how big you are how big they are when we buy them. Probably these would not be big trees. They're not in
Oh,
so like in a
yeah.
public park, you would normally have to buy because of vandalism, just use. You'd have, if these were like on the ground level, they'd have to be pretty sizable so they would survive kids playing on them and stuff like that. But because of the location of these trees up on that bank, we were proposing to buy, not large trees, maybe 15-gallon trees. With stakes. They wouldn't necessarily need to be really huge. It would take quite a while to get to full maturity.
So are they evergreen?
Yes,
Okay, and then it's always advisable to underplant in size. 24-inch boxes are really bad to plant. 15 gallons will have a better survival rate.
and they'll be cheaper too.
And a lot cheaper. And yeah, you don't have to bring them in with the big backhoe and stuff.
so where's most of the cost, the $30,000? Is it the tree removal?
Yes,
Okay, and is that,
Because you're moving the stumps too?
no, that's really, tree work's very expensive, and some of these trees, if you scroll back down. This information is a little bit outdated. Those trees are about 120 feet tall, the ones on the right-hand side of the thing, they're big trees. You'll get a sense of that because of the scale and the distance, but tree work's very pricey. And these are, sizable trees. This would include chipping the small limbs, but leaving behind the large wood for us to still deal with. But we've got a little buffer on the cost estimate. We don't have bids yet. We get the project's kind of changed in scope a few times as we were researching this, so we don't have quotes for this work. So we think we have enough money in there to cover what we think the costs are, and then a little bit plus the cost of replanting, and we have a little bit of irrigation work to ensure the new trees have drip line to them.
Oh, so you don't have an actual bid. This
Correct.
$30,000 is an estimate.
Yes, it's a budget amendment we'll get bids if it's approved.
And then, are you going out for more than one bed? Because
Yes,
we
we-
have, yeah, okay, because I know we have a local person, but there's other people.
Well, also keep in mind, this is a prevailing wage job.
Yeah.
So if you did this, if this was private property, it'd be done, not insignificantly less.
So this is not gonna have to go through the county as part of our park and rec renovations.
No, we're just gonna try to
Okay,
do-
so this is independent of that, good. Okay, those are all my questions.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna take the large wood away as well, or chip it and take it away.
They're gonna chip it, we're gonna have the district staff will have to take the large, that was, well, the quotes, the early quote that we got, that's the basis for the budget level estimate, did not include removing the large wood.
Because eucalyptus, wood's not that great for replanting.
It's gonna just be we'll just have to deal with it.
Yeah. If you get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, we may have to, get a roll off and put it in there and take it to mid-state or soon to be.
Why don't you put an ad on Craigslist and see if somebody wants to come and get it, because they do burn the eucalyptus.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And then they would take it off your hands for free.
We just haven't got that, we haven't gotten to those level of details yet with this.
Versus throwing it in the, waste.
Yeah, it wouldn't be thrown in the garbage, right? It'd be turned into, it'd be chipped and composted.
You've got a fireplace, we can take it over here.
And my fireplace is gas. Just throw it in there anyway.
Any other questions?
No.
Any
Thank
questions from
you.
the public? Yes.
Yeah, just, I'm curious, it's the extent to which the trees that are there have been really important, for shade purposes on the playground that's going to be built or the sports fields. And if that's been taken into account or how you considered that.
So I think the trees were planted there for shade, particularly along the softball, field, they do in the afternoon. Cast shade, that direction, but we've consulted with, softball parents and really the trees end up being more of a nuisance for this, even the soft, because they have, these eucalyptus trees are very messy, they shed, they have a lot of leaves. And so they've kind of been viewed as more of a nuisance. I believe that they were probably planted there because they're very fast growing and effective at producing quick shade. Now the playground was specifically removed because we can't have that debris on the playground facility. Eucalyptus trees are also known for being somewhat of a liability. They can drop a limb without much notice.
Yeah,
You
I
can
had
drop
one-
the whole tree without.
I had one drop a limb on my car when I was about 20 years old.
They're so they're not great. They're not a great tree to have near playgrounds or those kind of things. They're a great tree to, if you have a lot of property and you want to have a fence line or trying to grow firewood because they grow fast. I'm not sure they were an ideal selection for this use. And the holly oak will be a more moderate sized tree. It won't have the same shade benefits, but those trees are not, the picture probably doesn't do a great service. The trees are planted like 30, 40, 50 feet away from where parents sit. It just happens to be that they're tall enough that in the late afternoon, it does cast a fair shadow. So it's not like there's people sitting kind of under the trees, picnicking or something. They're pretty removed from the play space, but the amount of debris they cause is a nuisance to the softball groups.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda item, 6C for trees at Everest Park.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Director Burdanish,
Aye.
Logan,
Aye.
Ardini,
Yes.
Pearson. Aye. And Peterson.
Yes. Okay, item 7, our one business item, and it is a public hearing for the resolution of number 20-2023 annual adjustment of impact fees.
Yeah, this is a rather straightforward item. You'll recall that when the board adopted the impact fee update in 2018, it included recommendations to consider adjustments annually. And it depended on the type of fee at the time. At the time, water, wastewater, and parks and recreation fees were recommended to be adjusted by the construction cost index, which is determined by the engineering news record publication. And fire fees were adjusted by the CPI, and that's based on the study from years prior. Since then, every year, the board has made those adjustments that have taken effect each January. This year with a new fire impact fee taking effect, it's actually not even in effect, but approved just 6 weeks or so ago, it takes effect in November. I don't recommend adjusting that. It is not even here yet, and it will be current as of November 4th, 3rd or 4th, I think it's the 4th that it takes effect. So this year, it's recommended that only the other three fees be considered for adjustment. That's water, wastewater, and parks and recreation development impact fees. The engineering news record construction cost index from October of 23 over October of 22 went up by 2.4%. And so it's recommended that these fees go up by that amount effective January 1st. A public hearing has been noticed and is required to consider this adjustment. If after the public hearing, if after you've taken any testimony, considered any comments received during the public hearing, the board could consider adopting resolution 20-2023, which alters the master user fee schedule, but only in regards to the impact fees as stated in the report. So I just would note it's a much smaller increase than we faced in the last couple of years. So I hope that means that truly construction costs are mellowing out a bit, or at least not going up at the same rate that they had been for the past couple of years. So the amounts of the adjustment are listed in a table in the staff report. I can go through those or answer any questions that you have.
Questions?
I have questions. Exactly, our water fee is proposed to be $44,621. The person puts in the line, I mean, the line is in the street. Person puts in the line to their house. What do we do for $44,000?
So we provide the well to treat the well to retrieve the water. We treat the water with chlorine, or in the future with some simple filtration on our Nacimiento water. That's a requirement for the way we're using it. We pay for the Nacimiento subscription, the pumping costs. We pay the electricity costs for I mean, you're talking about the infrastructure costs, installing the wells. So we also have projects to upsize a number of lines within the district that are a component of these costs. Water mains.
Water mains, usually when a development goes in, like the one we just had tonight, the cost is put on the developer. Now, I did notice in that one that a portion of it was picked up by TCSD. We're just pricing ourselves out of a competitive market because there's no way Paso and Atascadero is close to that. And now we've got almost $16,000 in fees for an accessory dwelling unit, which is supposed to be low cost housing. And I mean, I know that our water and wastewater budgets are good. You know, we're coming up on $45,000 to $50,000 for a water meter in the next couple of years. I can't support this. It doesn't make sense because the amount, first of all, we have budget surpluses. We have projects in line that we've got budgeted for that. We're charging this huge amount that is just exorbitant over our competitive markets. We're going to place ourselves right out of the market, and we're not helping the housing shortage by charging so much for an accessory dwelling unit. That That's my take. And the other thing is the park and recs. I don't, everything on the master plan hasn't. The Evers Park, I did see that. I'm in favor of the park and recs increase because I think they need help, but the other ones I'm not in favor of. That's just my take.
I support it because I look at it as we went through and looked at what was gonna be the impact fee, and we set a baseline. And this is really saying, what has the industry done in terms of increasing costs? And a good example of that is when we went out to bid for the fire department. And we thought it was gonna be, $3 million, and the bid came back over $5 million and some change. And part of that was because of the construction cost. I'm afraid that if we don't keep pace with construction cost, inflation, we're just gonna end up digging ourselves a hole.
Well, our fire department estimate for the station was highly inflated. Highly inflated, and it was purposely inflated so that we could then charge our fees accordingly. There was no way that, sure, when we build it in 20 years, it'll probably cost that. But for today's market, not even close. And so, I understand we have a difference of opinion. I'm just telling this board that I think that, we need to have development in Templeton. You've got 4,300 and some units going in Paso. I don't know how much in Atascadero. Those are our competition for our market. We need to have, we have a fire department that wants a lot of things. We have a rec department that needs things. And we're pricing ourselves out of the market when our costs are so high. Your developers are looking at this and going, that the 15-lot subdivision that just went through on Bennett and Turkey Ranch, actually it's on Bennett Way. The developers, CCB or CBB, I forgot what their name codes are, that put in a bid, withdrew it because they couldn't make it financially feasible for them to build out the project, and they had water. And so, we're pricing ourselves out of the market, and we're gonna hurt ourselves in the end.
But I think
But
what's
exactly.
before the board is not to say, is our impact fee right where it needs to be? What's before the board for the board, because that discussion has already taken place when we looked at what was going to be the impact fees for water and sewer, etc. What's before the board is, do we want to accept the construction cost increase that have occurred? And that's what we're doing, is just increasing it by that amount that has already occurred within construction.
But we have inflated cost already, and now we're inflating it
But that's a
more.
separate issue. The board approved those
Right, no,
costs.
but you're asking me to say, do I agree to the 2.4% increase? And I'm saying no, because I think our costs are already inflated.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ruby, do you have something to say?
Oh, I was just for the impact fees, the impact fees are not related to the operations. So I know you mentioned that we're doing well for the budget, which we are, thankfully. The impact fees are for future infrastructure, and these are all the stuff that we looked at, because obviously for our water treatments, we need infrastructure, and then sewer, needs infrastructure. So so we have to be aware of that. So that's what we are charging these fees, to make sure that as town grows, that we have the infrastructure to support it. And that's true for Parks and Rec. That's what we have, master plan for fire department, and same thing for the water. So that's the thought. And you mentioned the project and that they backed out, but they had the water already. So if they have the water, so they're not paying the impact fees.
Well, they're gonna end it. True,
So-
but, and
so
I
that's
agree
not-
with everything you said. You're absolutely right. My feeling is that by a 2.4% increase, we are getting our prices so high that we can't be competitive with the Paso or Atascadero market for somebody who wants to build a home or builders who want to build several homes because our fees are so high. If they then stop building here, then we have no growth and we have no monies coming in to put towards or anything. So I agree with you, impact fees are for future growth. That's where we get our monies from. But I'm saying Atascadero's impact fees and Paso Robles impact fees are way less than ours. And that, you know, the cost of land in Templeton is already higher because we're a desired area. But when you have people backing out of it, plus you've got 7-point-something% interest now, so that when their construction loans roll over, they're paying high interest rate, that developers look at all those bottom numbers when they're trying to estimate, you know, putting in sewer lift stations and all that kind of stuff. And that when we keep increasing our costs, we're pricing ourselves out of the market to get construction here
Yeah, but
and
we're
growth
not,
here.
yeah, but we're not just increasing our costs just for sake of just increasing our costs. There are expenses and there's infrastructure that we gotta make sure that we have the resources for to be able to take care of the future residents that come in. So if we don't do that, then we could be considered irresponsible as a board, not thinking about those infrastructure. So I understand your point about things are getting expensive. Unfortunately, everything's getting expensive. But typically the developers take all that into account, and when they build a home, they put that in, as a price, and that's well, yeah, and that's why homes are, $1.5 million, dollars in Templeton, and even in Paso Robles and Atascadero. I mean, I was just talking to a gentleman, said that his loan officer said, if you're looking for a home, a decent size in Paso Robles, you gotta try to borrow about 700 to 1-point-something million. That's what you're going to pre-qualify for. So I'm not, but that's not our decision. That's not what we're looking at. What our concern is make sure that we have the infrastructure that we could support the residents that are gonna be coming in to our town.
The thing I look at is the increase from 43,575 to 44,621 is basically $1,100, give or take a few pennies, dollars here or there. So if we issue 25 water permits, that's $25,000. That's not really buying as much, but if we keep our rates lower, then it might buy us a developer coming here. And so I don't think, since we have the infrastructure cost falls hugely on the developer.
But I mean, so far, whatever water unit that we released within 4 to 6 months, they've sold. So nobody, they always get bought out. So whatever we release, they get bought out. So there's obviously demand for it. So the developers know that, and they're buying it. And then the ones that have already bought it, this obviously doesn't affect them, but all the new ones are getting sold. So
Well, I think
So
we're
they-
pricing ourselves out of the market. Yeah.
one thing, the problem we're having is the county is charging so much for the other fees, like the road fees and things like that. It's-
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so, that adds a lot. So, but, I'm not quite sure our water units or our impact fees are as much as. what
Well, and I
the
think,
county-
Pam, you said it too, is the interest rates. Interest rates are so high right now. It's, those people who come in and pay cash for a house are the ones that really are buying the homes.
Well, I would like to represent the 30-year-olds who friggin' can't afford rent in this town.
Right here.
Well, I understand there's a difference of opinion. I'm just explaining why we'll vote no on this.
Any other comments? Public comment?
It's been very, very interesting to listen.
I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and go ahead and pass the resolution number 2023 annual adjustment of impact fees.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Director Pagano,
Aye.
Logan,
Aye.
Cardini,
No.
Pearson, and Peterson.
Yes. Okay, next item is the general manager's report.
Yeah, just a couple of items to call to your attention. One, the assignment of the Mid-State franchise to Waste Management. You recall that you took care of that for Templeton CSD at your last meeting, but it was pending a county approval, not for Templeton CSD's boundaries, but for the county franchise that surrounds Templeton. And the sale from Mid-State to Waste Management. We're not really party to that, but that sale was contingent upon both parties approving it. The county approved it at today's Board of Supervisors meeting. Waste Management has already provided the district the surety bond, and some, at least the initial materials that are being mailed to customers. That mailing should go out tomorrow. It's a postcard just announcing that this transition is taking place. And then they plan with the next billing to include a more thorough newsletter. They call it a newsletter. I have not seen a draft of that product yet, but the material, the postcard is scheduled to go out tomorrow. You should be receiving it within a week. That was required as a part of that assignment agreement. So that is now all moving forward. And I'll let you know if there's any hiccups, but I think it should be good to go, at least on the county and on our end. You were speaking about this just a bit ago. CSDA is hosting our chapter, Slow County Chapter CSDA has a meeting here in Templeton at McPhee's on October 26th. That's next Thursday, 11:30 to 1:30. I've been waiting for an agenda to come out soon so I can provide that to you, but the last announcement did say we expect speakers to include Congressman Panetta's district director, and I might be wrong on her title, and I believe her name is Diane.
Yeah.
Yes, is one, and then Clint Wywood from John Laird's office is another. Still no agenda has been produced. Nonetheless, our RSVPs are due Friday. So if you can make it, please send your lunch selection to Carrie, and she'll get you. We'll get you registered and paid. And the district will pay for those costs. I realize there's one other little maybe in the mix. I won't be in attendance at that meeting. I'll be gone next week out of town on vacation, so I'll be missing that meeting. But I'll keep you posted if an agenda actually posts. And glad to see that the group is getting back together. And just the first. Well, there was a meeting in April. First meeting since then.
Any questions for the district manager?
Yes, I do. I guess I have a question, comment, or concern. A couple of months ago, a few months ago, we as a board decided to go ahead and include residents in our committee in addition to the board members, which at the time, I mean, I think still think is a great idea. We did this, but it seems like a few weeks ago you mentioned that you guys were having a hard time making these times for the committees. It's taking a lot of staff time. I think it's taking a lot of Carrie's time. I mean, there was some, I don't know whether you mentioned a number that was, quite a bit of time. And just recently I saw an email saying that our committee for fire and emergency was canceled. So that's a concern because there was 2 members that residents were not able to make it. So that is a concern for me. I mean, I think our intention is good, but I think we need to sit down and maybe revisit this issue again and see what we could do to help our staff. I mean, are you?
So I can comment on this item's on the agenda, so I'll be brief. I don't think it's it's not overwhelming in terms of staff effort to schedule the meetings. It's taking a long time to get meeting scheduled because of availability. So when we say it takes a long time, I think the fire committee meeting that we had that was going to occur last week was like 6 or 7 weeks after we started soliciting dates. So that was the first date that all 4 people were available. probably giving them 200 different combinations of dates and times over several rounds. That's the challenge. We're committed to, if you know, if it takes some time to actually schedule it, that's okay. I mean, I was hoping it wouldn't be this challenging, but that's not overwhelming. It's the fact that it's gotta be 6 or 8 weeks out, and then we lost that meeting. So there's a couple lessons I think I've learned. One is like, this wouldn't have happened if we didn't have an odd number, 4 people.
Yeah.
So it takes 75% to have a quorum. If it was 5 people or 3 people, we could have had the meeting, almost certainly. That's on me, because I didn't think of that when we made those appointments. If it's as simple as that, we can move forward. If the board wants to revisit this before we reach out, because our plan right now is to reach out starting really in the next couple of weeks for 2024 assignments. If you want to have a discussion about whether this structure works, then I would recommend that you place this on the board in your first meeting of November before we reach out, so that we don't ask people to volunteer and then you later decide that, you know, it's just not, it's more of a headache than it's worth.
So, yeah, I mean, my concern is that the meeting got canceled, and I think we gotta make sure that we take care of Templeton residents' business. So, I mean, there may be other solutions.
Well, I will tell you that, so if there was something that was truly urgent on there, like it was, I would have just brought the item to the board. We would have said the committee couldn't meet, and so it's coming before the board, because the committee's not really making a binding decision anyways, but rather advancing recommendations.
So like, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I know, board members, when we are selected for the committees, we have alternates. So why is that not the case for, residents, or could one of the other board members take in the place, or, I mean, we got.
No, so a board member couldn't, because then you'd have a board meeting, you'd have 3 board
Well, we
meetings.
still
I think it was
treat it as a board, I mean, it's getting, agendized, and it's brand.
It would have to be a board meeting.
But I think this was an unusual circumstances, because it was the day or 2 before the meeting. And it was because both of those individuals had emergencies come up that were not planned for. And I think one individual had a death in their family. The other one had an emergency dental appointment. So I think it was unusual, but I share your concern. I think it's something we need to watch, to make sure that it doesn't become a bottleneck in the future.
So I would recommend if the board wishes to rethink how members of the public are on committees for 2024, I would ask that this be on a future agenda and at your next meeting for discussion before we go out and try to recruit people to apply. Because if you're inclined to make to say that was a once and done kind of, if you're thinking that that's a possible outcome, then I don't want to recruit people only to tell them they weren't appointed and we got rid of that.
I mean, I don't wanna get rid of the program, I think it's a great program, I just think maybe we need to fine tune it. I mean, based on what we learned last year, I mean, Carrie, I think is gonna be able to give us a great input, what her experience has been. And I just wanna fine tune it, maybe as you mentioned, it could be simple as just only having 1 member on the committee rather than having 2, so that way, we don't have a quorum issues and things like, I mean, that's all.
I think it'd be a good idea to maybe put it on the agenda for next time, so we can have a full-fledged, proper notice discussion on the issue.
Well, that's what that's what I'm saying, that's what I wanna say, that to have to discuss it, at a, put an agenda, so that's why I wanna discuss that.
Would you like to have an agenda?
I would.
And I think, yeah.
Okay, not a vote, because we can't.
No, just when you're looking into the legalities of it, do the committee members have to be voting members? Is the other question, because I know that's what hung this up, that they actually were voting. And do the committee members have to be voting
Yeah,
members?
they would not need to be, but I don't know that, so we can include that as part of the discussion.
Yeah, because, I mean, just for, run it by the attorney.
You put it on an agenda for next.
Yeah, we'll put that on the, I'll plan that on the November 7th meeting as a discussion item. With possible direction to the staff.
That's all I want. want to discuss.
Okay, any other comments, public?
I'll just, add some comments that might be pertinent to this future item if it comes up that, on HSOC, which I chair, the Homeless Services Oversight Council for the county, we have a lot of community members. And our community members have alternates too, so this is a county committee and, would be precedent for doing that. And our community members vote. And when we are recruiting people, we have a fixed time that we're asking people to commit to. So that makes it easier. When we have to do something special, we will, use Sign Up Genius, to make it easier to get, for people to say when it is out of a range of options that they can do it. And that's been useful on a couple of committees, that I serve on.
Okay, thank you. Committee reports, I don't think we have any, so we'll move to, the activity update reports. We have one from finance, one from fire and emergency services, one from parks and rec, and one from utilities. Do anybody have any questions on any of those?
I had a question. So the turf tank has been a phenomenal, success.
Yes. Been in operation for about a month.
So is that saving cost as far as manpower?
I would like to think so. I think it's saving some time. I think it's doing a much better job.
Ouch.
No, that's not a knock on our people. It's our equipment, basically the fields, you know, they're not. This isn't like maintained, you know, it's not like Augusta National Fairway here or, you know, Levi Stadium where it's perfect. And so when you use a field painter, it's picture like a lawnmower and it's rocking along. When that happens, the line moves around. And so that's a real noticeable improvement. This does not. This has a suspension system in it so that it can absorb those bumps and keep a straight line. The other thing is because it's GPS coordinated, it makes the fields square. There are no, it's much more precise.
No hexagons or octagons or.
Good to hear. I'm glad to hear. That's all.
Linus, I believe this is.
Yeah, that's Linus.
You can see it in action most Fridays. 6 AM at the middle school and then later in the morning at Evers and German Park.
It was funny, Melissa was showing us a video of it, which was like great, and it was funny because it was doing its thing, and there were 4 people standing there watching.
Watching it.
Usually one person does.
So it has a lot, I mean, it's got a lot of capabilities that we're not really even using yet, but you know, it can do a lot of, it can do a pretty cool stuff.
So our water production is, are we on utilities yet? I'm sorry, Chair. Our water production is up. Water usage is up.
No. So if you go to of those utility reports, the one that I would maybe start with, you're looking for like just quick snapshot is this one right here. This little table shows a comparison monthly compared to 2013. It was kind of the baseline during the drought. We've just continued to use that year. Last year, 2022, and this year, 2023. And if you look at compared to in the month of September, the production was 124 acre feet in 2023 for that month, but it was 146 the year before. So it's down pretty substantially compared to 2013. We're about 23% lower. 10 years later.
Sorry, I was reading these upside down. That's why.
We have the heat wave lots.
Yeah.
Yeah, climate has a lot to do with it, and I don't expect October will be lower than last year, because last year we started getting rain in October, and this year it's actually become summer again. This year's October has been more like a normal September.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for making me realize I read that wrong. Okay.
Any other questions? Any question, public? Okay. Any director reports and or comments?
None here.
City of Atascadero is going through a general plan amendment in case anybody's interested. I believe it's open to the public.
Yes, comments are open. Tascadero2045.org.
You can contact, is it Kelly Gleason over there? That's handling. it.
Okay, with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.